This demo is going to go over how to do a little bit of masking, how to keyframe your mask, and essentially create a little title card intro trailer thing like this. So you can see here the footage that I'm using, I downloaded off of Pexels, which is a free website where they have videos. So first thing we're going to do here is we're going to start a new project, and we're going to create a new composition. And this one we will call text masking main. So I don't think we'll be doing much else. And then first thing I want to bring down is just whatever video clip. So I did one with the foggy looking shot, and I think that one looks good. So I'll redo this one. And the next thing I'm going to do is just basically kind of skim through, just kind of see what I'm working with. And then I'm going to go and create some text. So I'm going to have my name slide up here. So I'm going to click off, or Command Shift A, I believe would be the same. To deselect, and then I'm going to go to T, my type tool. I'm going to click out here, and I'm just going to type my text. So I did it on 2 lines. So I'm doing Mr. and then Bickus, and you can go ahead and just mess around with, this information if you want to, play around with the font, play around with your spacing, all that good stuff. So, and then what I'm going to do here is just scale this sucker up. And there we go. Oops. Changing some of these, the leading between the lines there. And that looks pretty good. Now I'm going to switch over to my arrow, and I'm just going to manually kind of bring this up. You can go to transform, layer, transform, and send your anchor point layer content, though it really doesn't matter, I don't think, for this particular demo. So I'm just going to scale this up and kind of decide where I want this to start. Now, because my camera moves down, I'm kind of having the text move down also. So you can kind of see this is what I'm looking at right now. And so what we're going to do here is we're going to mask out our text. And we're going to base it around that background image. So I'm actually going to click on that layer, the background layer, and I'm going to get my pen tool. And what's going on is when you click on a layer and you start drawing with a pen tool, you're creating a mask. Meaning it's going to cover stuff up. Actually, we're going to go not on that layer. We're going to click on our text layer. So I'm going to go on this layer, and I'm just going to start creating a mask, and I'm going to outline this mountainside here. Okay. Now the nice thing about After Effects is you can create multiple masks, whereas in Premiere on one layer, whereas in Premiere you cannot. You're kind of stuck with one mask. Right. So you can see here, and now I could go back and I could adjust this. You can see some of my text is popping out. Does that look good? Yeah, it looks pretty good. All right, and I'm going to go into that text layer now, and you can see that I have a mask drop down. So there's my mask. I'm going to open that up. And now because it's showing the opposite right now, it's covering up everything, I'm going to say invert. Right. And what's going to happen is whenever this text is below this mask, then it's not going to show my text. So what we need to do here is we're going to keyframe our text a little bit, and then we're going to keyframe our mask. So first thing for the text itself, I'm going to hit position, which is P. I'm going to turn on my stopwatch. I'm going to say, okay, at this point, switch back to my arrow. I'm going to have that text be a little bit higher. And then let's see, by the time it gets to maybe here, I'm just going to kind of do this all at once. Yeah, it looks pretty good. I'm going to then have that drop down and maybe kind of disappear into the fog. Let's see what that looks like without the mask doing anything at this point. So there's my camera movement. I think that looks pretty good in terms of just pacing. You can see it's kind of rendering right now, so I'll have to let this go through. But I think that pacing looks pretty good, and there's the fog kind of rolling up to cover it up. If I don't like this, I can always end up changing it. Another thing I would recommend doing at this point is probably an ease, but I'm not going to. We'll kind of do that later just to make that a little bit smoother. All right, so that looks pretty good. I like that one. Let's see. Okay, that pace looks pretty good. All right. Now I'm going to go and I'm going to open up that text layer again, and I'm going to go into my mask, and I'm going to bring my playhead back. And now we're going to start keyframing our mask. So how do I do that? I go to mask, I open up my mask 1, and I'm going to turn on my stopwatch for mask path. Okay, now the other thing we can do is we can feather this. You can see feather controls. We could keyframe that. We're not going to right now. I'm just going to kind of get this in place. So I need to move this mask because it's moved up a little bit right now. So what I'm going to do is I have my arrow, and I clicked on mask 1 over here. And what I'm going to do is just click and just hopefully be able to pull this mask down. It's not letting me. Oops. Let's go back here. You can see if I click on the line there, sometimes if it's filled, you can click on the inside, but I guess you have to click on the line to move the entire mask. All right, so that looks pretty good. I'm going to adjust some of these points now. So if I want to adjust points, what I do is I double click on I'm sorry, I just re-click on mask path after deselecting. Now I can go on to individual points. Come on. Oh, my bad. You click up on masks, and now I have control of my points. So that first point, we're saying, okay, where do I want this mask to be? And I'm just going in and just kind of correcting. Now I'm a little bit far out, so I might zoom in here and just start adjusting. But you can really make this look awesome. You can make this look really perfect. Let me go ahead and move this up. All right, and it's looking pretty good. Oops. Zoom out just a little bit here. Just kind of start adjusting these. And so at this point, I'm going to animate this mask to move with the mountain. So I have to manually do this. So at this point, you can see when my text starts moving, that whole mask starts moving as well. Well, what I want to have happen is I want that to, let's say, where do I last see that mountain? Probably here. So I'm going to click on mask path. And let's go ahead and move this whole thing up. And that looks pretty good. Now I'm going to adjust a little bit here. So I'm going to go back, click on masks. That way that activates my ability to control the mask itself. Just kind of recreate it, make it a little bit more perfect. That looks pretty good. All right. So you can see here my mask path now has 2 keyframes on it. So let's see how that tracked. Right. As that text goes back behind, it looks like it's disappearing into the background. All right, now, if it's a little bit hard edge, that's where we would go with its mask. We'll feather our mask just a little bit, just kind of give it a little bit of haze there, and now that should look a lot better. All right, and here we go. Here comes the fog. Now, this would be the part if I really wanted to get crazy, because we do have the ability to really make this look awesome. I would probably go and keyframe my feather, because then I could make this fog look like it's kind of taken over. So you can see there, I'm just going back. All right, it disappears a little bit more. Okay, I'm going to click on mask 1 and just move this up again. And that looks pretty good. And then I'm kind of losing my mountain, so I'm just kind of guessing at this point what's going on. And then here, let's say that text is going to be completely gone into the fog. So let's see what that kind of looks like now. All right, we see the text moves and it disappears back behind that. Right, boom. Okay. Now I'm going to go back. I'm going to keyframe my mask feather. So here, all right, we're going to create a keyframe at the beginning. I think that looks good, and it looks good, looks good, looks good. And here's where the fog starts rolling. And so at this point, I'm going to actually create a manual keyframe here, and then I'm going to, like right afterwards, just start amping up that feather a little bit so that it starts softening out maybe a little bit more. And now, if I really want to get crazy, I'd probably go back in and maybe readjust my mask a little bit to push that up, because I have a little bit softness going both ways. So now I could go into that mask path and just maybe move that up slightly higher. All right, same thing here. Go move that up slightly higher, and maybe push my feather more. Oops. All right. You see there, it jumped back down, so I just need to recheck that. All right, that looks good. All right, let's see what that looks like. So now it's going to take a little bit of time probably to render, but you can see there, looking good. The mask feather stand, and then as this kind of approaches, it's going to get softer, and it looks like that fog is overtaking my text. And if there's like a little jump or something I need to adjust there or correct, I can. You can see it jumped around a little bit here. Right, there's my path. I might zoom in just a little bit. I got one of those. I don't like that one. So moving. Probably a little bit too abrupt there, so I'll delete that one out. That looks pretty good. Look how that's looking. You can see I have a couple extra keyframes there, so I'm just trying to isolate these and delete them. And that looks pretty solid. Okay. Now, how do we make this look a little bit better? All right, let's click on our layer here. I'm going to hit U, and you can see all my keyframes, and I'm going to just easy ease this. So drag select those, right click, keyframe assistant, easy ease. And now that'll just be a little bit smoother. And actually, I don't like the way that that feather's looking. So I would maybe, or something happened here. I think I maybe deleted a keyframe that shouldn't have been there or something. So like you can see, it's a little bit too high. So I'd maybe go back my mask path and say, all right, that's too high. So I'm gonna move that down. And again, like any small corrections you can see here, it's getting off a little bit too. So I'll move that down a little bit. All right, so just little corrections and things. And just make that thing look as realistic as possible. I can just go all day and kind of keep making corrections here. I got a couple keyframes that are just throwing me off a little bit, but pretty solid. And then we got our thing disappearing. And right. Let's see now. Yeah, that looks pretty good. All right, now one last little trick that I was doing here was I was going to duplicate my text layer here. So Command D, and on that particular layer, I'm going to move it down, and then we're going to make this faux kind of like, I don't know, drop shadowy effect to it. So what I need to do is pre-comp this. So I'm going to click on that layer, Command Shift C, and move all attributes in. The reason being is we're going to do a little shift to it, and I can't shift because I already have keyframes, so I have to pre-comp it. So now I'm going to hit P for position, and I'm just going to slide this over. And then I'm also going to hit T for transparency, and I'm going to turn this down a little bit. And then last thing, I would maybe get like a Gaussian blur. So I go to my effects here, throw on my Gaussian blur on that thing, and let's see, make it a little bit blurry. Just that background text. And that looks pretty good. So now that's going to do basically the same thing. Has a mask on and everything, and it's going to disappear just like that other layer. All right, and that is it